I recorded this video will be once already, but it was really windy and it. Hope the wind doesn't spoil it today. I can feel it a little bit there. Yeah, I'm just gonna say really a little series about how I got to where I am. I was born in Leeds and my mother was like quite middle class, but my dad was very working class. So I always think myself as mixed class. But my mother got cancer when I was about 9 or so, and she died a couple of years later, which was probably one of the profound moments of my life, I guess. And that changed everything. Except now we had my dad, but my dad, he broke his heart, broke him, and he became like an alcoholic, and he was out at the pub all the time. So I never really saw him after that. I mean, that early childhood bit were good though. I remember doing these comics, cartoons, because I'm called Skree, which was, my brother used to take the piss out of me and say I was screeching like a parrot. And then we later on learned about the Skree slopes that you see in the Yorkshire Dales with all the loose rocks down the side of the loose rocks. It kind of ties in eventually. But come on, Bentley. But yeah, so the first bit was all right, but after my mum died, it was pretty weird. Well, it was good in some ways because I could do anything I wanted. I could stay away for days on end, which I used to do, and play truant a lot. And at school, I'd been really good when I was the first few years. I was always wanted to be either first or second on any test that we had in the class, which I was. But then when after my mother died, from about 12 onwards and I hit puberty, I couldn't be arsed with it anymore. And I heard Never Mind the Bollocks. I was in the Black Sabbath and AC/DC and I can't remember what else. But then I heard Never Mind the Bollocks, and that line from 17, when your mummy dies, she will not return, Johnny Rotten says, and that was kind of hit me, because it came out just about the time she died. I was 11, I think. So after that, yeah, we could do what we wanted, and at school I just started getting into trouble all the time, and I got banned from a lot of the lessons that I was doing. And so I spent most of my time in the art block, in the art room, where Mrs. Steele was my salvation. I'm so grateful to her for her encouragement and support, because it was somewhere where I could go, sanctuary. And I never caused no trouble in the art. I was always just drawing and painting. And she was brilliant, she was. And even till when I was coming up, I was an Easter leaver. I left before school. I didn't get any O-levels. I left before my exams. But she'd arranged it that I could come back to take my 2 art exams. But I didn't go because, I don't know, I did set off, but I got halfway through the woods walking there. So I left home by then to live in this shared house with a load of other people. And my brother and Chris had set off for Stonehenge that day, and I'd already been to Stonehenge the year while I was at school, 82 or 81, I can't remember which year. First festival I went to was Reading, 1980, where Slade played and destroyed all the new wave of British heavy metal bands who were all crap. I didn't like any of them, Def Leppard, White Snake, all that. But yeah, anyway, but I went to Stonehenge, started going to Stonehenge, and I saw the sort of traveller culture and New Age traveller culture, and I thought, oh yeah, you don't have to live in the same way as all the other people who want fucking mortgages and houses and property and all that. There are other ways. So kind of like we can create a big like counterculture, which we were part of, and it was after punk, but there was still that. It was more like that. What I mean, we went to Hawkwind. It was that kind of Ladbroke Grove attitude from the 70s of you know, when the squatting scene was going on, and anarchy kind of attitude, and you know, a lot of creative people. But yeah, anyway, I didn't go to that exam, which I really regret, but it worked out in the end. I'll get to that. So I had no qualifications at all, and we lived in a shared house, and we were doing acid and mushrooms, and it was fucking ace. We were getting stoned every day, cannabis, but you can only do it for so long, and then it started to get, I was alright, but a couple of people started to get a bit, you know, mentally fucked up by the recreational drugs we were doing, and other people started getting more heavily into less recreational drugs like speed and alcohol, and not heroin yet, but that comes in later. It was pretty rare then. You didn't see it ever. Nobody got it. Opium occasionally, but no. And there were all the different hashes, because there's a real variety of hash then. This was, I get, they were all, must have been tiny little smuggling operations, because you get, you know, Manali Black 1 week, and then Red Lem next the week after, then 00 from Morocco the week after that. It was always changing. And later, I'll jump ahead a bit, it stopped, and then it was all blonde leb for about a year, and then it went into this Moroccan black soap bar type shit, and yeah, so, and all those little smugglers, all those little different types, like connoisseurs it was before. But anyway, so I'd seen the travellers and I was quite impressed with that. I had I moved to Cornwall. We lived in this, when I was 16, moved into this communal house where we lived together with Dean, who's still my best mate now, Comfy Chris, and I was with this girl called Sybil for about 5 years. I think she was sexually abused, and she was quite fucked up in her own way. And she was a lot more experienced than I was, and she helped me negotiate. It was quite hard when you leave home at 15. You sort of don't really know how to do any of the things, how to get benefits, how to get somewhere to live. And she was quite clued up on all that, because she'd been living that kind of squatter life already. She was sort of like ahead in her years. She was old for her years. She was probably maybe a year older than me. Anyway, we used to go for about 5 years. And after the cottage in Cornwall, which was great, we used to brew, home brew, and we didn't have any drugs down there, which was great, because we were all trying to get away from that. I mean, the people who moved there initially, there was, I won't say the names, but there was one who'd been busted for manufacture of amphetamines, one who'd been done for sale and use premises and cultivation of cannabis, one had been done for possession, supply of acid and amphetamines, and yeah, basically everybody had a minor drug record. So yeah, so it was great times, really good down there, and to see different wildlife and different plants, and buzzards and lizards and slowworms and salmon coming up the river. And there was like across the valley there was like a wood, an oak wood that was going through a dying phase, and you get like these, like certain ones will grow really big, but you get a lot of ones who only grow to so height, like but the diameter would be between 12 and anything from 6 to 12 inches thick. And I'd go cut these down and into lengths 6 feet long, and I'd carry 3 back across, all the way across the valley back to the cottage. I'd get them into a little bit of garden at the top, and then I'd use a bow saw to cut it through into little bits ready to split, and then I'd split them all with an axe. And that was my first, that was how I got an interest in wood really, the qualities of the material. And didn't really start doing anything with it then. Still just trying to find a way to live then. And then me and Sybil, we moved back to Leeds and ended up in a chaotic house. Everybody was going a bit off the rails by this point, becoming alcoholic. One of the friends, old friends, he got really badly mentally ill. He ended up dead at 38, I think. And everybody was just fighting and arguing. It was shit, really. The fun had gone. So we wanted to get back out into the countryside again. So we moved up to the Yorkshire Dales, and up there, we got really into food, you know, whole foods and cooking our own food and all that, baking our own bread and growing vegetables and stuff. And it was good. It was pretty good for a while. But then I was still young, you know. I was like 19 or whatever, and you know, I wanted to meet some more girls, different girls, and have a change, you know, and do some other stuff. So I moved back to Leeds, and I had a good stint after that where I met a few people, and we started doing. I'm going on a bit too far with this one. I didn't want to go so far, but yeah, we started doing a market stall where we'd go to the jumble sales on a Saturday and buy up things, catch the front of the queue, buy up anything. Sewing machines was mine when I used to buy Singer sewing machines and Tarzan and all those Jones, you know, all those makes. And I had a little deal where I'd sell them to these, or swap it for tobacco with these Dutch guys. We had a store on Leeds Market on a Thursday where we sold that. And we also sold under the counter homebrew, and we used to like a smoke stove. And people come around for that as well, which is great for a bit. It was really good bit. And we just ended up having a sale and going to Portugal. And we were there for, I think it was 72 nights, I can't remember now. We were there for a long time anyway, and we walked along the coast. The first time I'd been abroad, and really opened my eyes to the fact that there was nobody, how small your world was, you know, that nobody knew or gave a shit what was going on in Leeds or London or whatever. Never even thought about it, but yeah, it was lovely Portugal. We walked along the coast, along the bottom coast, all the way to Spain, and then we went up to Évora, Portalegre, and Martin, another friend, came over who we met. I was with Andy Lee, who's a close friend still, and we met with Martin. Ended up going to the mountains, which was my idea. It was fucking freezing, so we stayed in bed for about 4 days. I think we all got a cold or something. And then we went back down to Lisbon, and me and Martin didn't like it there, but Andy Lee he needed to get his camera stolen, or put in a report to the police that he'd had his camera stolen, in order to make a claim on his travel insurance to pay for his holiday. But we didn't need to do that. So me and Martin said, look, we just pointed down the coast on the map to this town, and we said, we'll see you in the nearest bar to the beach from there. We agreed to meet him in a few days, and we went down there, and that was, I often say, Bentley, come on, go this way. I often say was the epitome of Martin, who was a close friend from when I was about 9. He died too young as well. But there was a storm, and we went out on these rocks right into the sea. There was this massive plane going overhead. And the waves were crashing in, and it was dangerous. I said to him, look, we could die here. And he looked at me with complete joy on his face and said, so what? And I thought, yeah, that would have been a good death. Better than the death he did have, which was later on in Richard's kitchen after having injected some heroin. But I'll get on to all that later. I just wanted that first bit up to me, take you up to me 21 age. Okay, I hope it's not too windy this time.